for being here this morning. I'm Paul Fry, President of the Chamber. We're thrilled you're here for our October Eggs and Issues breakfast. And what I've learned over the last few months to promote some shameless self-promotion for chamber events is to do it first, because when we're finished for the morning, you want to get out of here. So I have a couple announcements to make, and then we'll get to our program. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge one of our Washington County Business Award winners for this year, Antietam Broadband. They're here this morning. Gentlemen, thank you. Congratulations again. And speaking of winners, if you were at our annual dinner last Thursday, if you weren't, we know who you are, but if you were, we gave away a golden ticket at the end. If you were in attendance, we drew out one ticket, and that person plus a guest could come to any chamber event for 12 months, except for the business after hours, because you can win money there. So Ed Lowe is about to find some new friends, because Ed Lowe is our golden ticket winner. Let's congratulate him. And Ed's about to find some new friends, because he's going to bring a guest to every one of these events. So Ed, your email is about to explode. Congratulations. Well deserved. Also wanted to talk about a couple of our upcoming events. Our next Business After Hours is at Mulberry Lofts. If you haven't been there on Mulberry Street, it's a great renovated facility. I think it's at full occupancy now. We'll be there on Thursday, October 19th, starting at 5 o'clock. And Don or Tim, do you remember what the jackpot total is? Are we at $1,500?
I think we're higher. Aren't we at 1750? Yes.
We think we're at 1750. If we're not, you can't hold it to us. It has been audited. It is 1750, audited by the accounting firm Dewey, Cheatham & Howell. All right. Our next Eggs and Issues, as part of this three-part series, we had On Track last month. We're going to hear about some technology today. And on November 1st, we'll have DLL Secretary Schultz here. Kelly Schultz will be here to speak about what the state of Maryland is doing in that area. And then on your table, you have a flyer for Glenn Shepard. He'll talk about customer service. It's 8 a.m. to noon. It's at Hager Hall. It is $129 for chamber members. If you register 3, you get a 4th free. It's an outstanding program. I think it's limited to 100 people, so if you're interested, please sign up for that. And on your table, from our friends at WCPS, we're going to talk about technology this morning and some education pieces. So to help you with that, we have a couple things going on. Explore financial options for college and technical schools. There's a flyer on that for your students and your family members. And then also the county job college fair is coming up. So there's information on your table about that. So how to pay for college and where to maybe you're going. And speaking of tech and tech world, the folks here at this table at B&D probably knew this. Yesterday was National Techies Day. Did you know that? October 3rd. We didn't even get you a cake. But it is National Techies Day. It's observed on October 3rd every year. And they'll talk about why it's important technology, the jobs coming up, so I won't steal their thunder there. But it did say, consider that National Techies Day falls during National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Did you know that? Yes, you knew that. Okay, it's National Cybersecurity Month. If all your devices are locked down and secure, thank a techie. If it's not, find one and get some help getting it secure. So after this, I think they're doing some consulting work for us. And it says how to observe. Take a techie out to lunch. And so, gentlemen and lady, this whole month, I think we're going to have lots of people take out to lunch. And thank you for your work in the technology world. I had the opportunity to be in Montreal for the last 2 days, presenting on behalf of Hagerstown our wellness initiatives we're doing here, but I also talked about what we have good going on in Hagerstown. And one of the things I mentioned was our first-class hospital system, trauma center, and also what we're doing in wellness in the community with our hospital and our medical folks. So sponsoring this morning's breakfast is Meritus Health, and here to welcome you and introduce our speaker is Joe Ross, President of Meritus Health. Let's welcome Joe.
Let me start by acknowledging the hard work that Paul has put in and his team with the chamber. We're very fortunate to have a vibrant chamber representing the business community and representing the interests of our community as we as we face the many struggles that all communities face. When we were asked, told it was our turn to sponsor breakfast, I was particularly pleased when I saw what the subject matter was, because it's something that, quite candidly, as a CEO, was not on my radar screen 3 years ago, but occupies part of my day every day now, and that is cybersecurity. Meritus recently made a commitment to a new information technology system that will cost us $100 million over the next 4 years to install, and it will be a single platform across every service that we provide. We'll integrate all the community positions into that over time. But the interesting thing about healthcare IT today is the largest user group isn't doctors, and the largest user group isn't going to be the nurses. The largest user group is going to be the consumers, which means we've got to create an open door like we don't have today. And what we've learned in the last couple of years is health information, my health information and your health information, is more valuable in the black market than financial information. So we have learned, watching our peers and others, how important this cybersecurity question has become. We recently formed an organization called Trivergent, which is a shared corporation with Frederick Memorial and Western Maryland Health System and Meritus. Represents about $1.4 billion of revenue, so it's a good-sized entity. We are building a 24-hour security operations center to just monitor and maintain our security across the various softwares and portals that we have across the 3 institutions. So it's very, very real. That center will employ 22, 24 people at maturity. So I'm very excited to hear what Jeff has to say. My other responsibility is to introduce Jeff, and I have to admit I met him this morning, like many of you will. But as President and CEO of B&D Consulting, Jeff has over 20 years of experience as a systems integrator and cybersecurity, IT engineer. Looking at this list, if he did all of those at once, this guy's making a lot of money. Because I know what each of those costs. But he's got a very extensive background in this, and while B&D Consulting is, I understand, 13 years old, an interesting statistic about them is that they've grown over 100% in the last 3 years. So another testimony to how cybersecurity is really on the minds of everybody. And finally, Jeff currently holds a TSSSBI security clearance. I don't know what that is, but I'm confident that it's very, very, very important and crucial to his success. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Bearden.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So before I get started, I actually want to start off with kind of why B&D's here a little bit. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, Paul came through our office and we did a Connect Summit, which is about technology and how the world is evolving very fast, and how, to Joe's point, is the biggest consumer is going to be the biggest user of technology is going to be the consumer, and how the explosion of technology is going to affect the world. So B&D holds our internal summit to address some of those things. And afterward, and Paul showed up for that event. And following that event, that meeting, Paul actually invited Jim Kirchhoff to our office, and we actually met separately. And kind of how we became part of this 3-part series was D&D has our own issues about hiring, right? We're considered a very mid to high end engineering firm for the Department of Defense. You got to see this in our slides. But part of the discussion was like we always hiring, but we never get the chance to hire here locally in Washington County because most of our guys require at least postgraduate degrees because it's more than math and sciences. And we literally hire out of counties I think that doesn't deserve, I'd say deserve, but don't really need the revenue, which is Montgomery counties and Loudoun counties. The guys are already rich, right? And so one of our needs is like, how do we make sure that those jobs stay here locally in Washington County, right? I mean, because the average employee in D&D makes over $100K a year. And so our interns make about 40, 50K a year, and these guys are in high school and college. And you're like, you're an intern, you're making 40, 50K a year. Why can't we keep those jobs here in Washington County? So it's an internal need for D&D, and personally, it's an internal want for Jeff Bearden because I have a house here in Washington County, I have friends here and family here, and I would like to see those jobs stay here in Washington County locally for us. So it became more of a conversation about how do you do that? How do we get to a point where we get to build something that actually has some lasting meaning? And so part of this was going to be more about cyber, but really it's going to be a carry-on to Jim's presentation last week about education, because it's the biggest need that we run into for us. As much as I'd love to hire some local kids here, if they don't have the educational requirements, I just cannot do it. And as I introduce my team over here, they'll tell you through their experiences that, you know, they're fortunate enough to be in the field with me, so they do things independently, but that's not how we get our community locally here to get better. We have to do it as a group. And so I get a lot of credit, but to be honest truth, no one does anything by themselves. I'll never take that credit. There's some really, really smart people at this table here who really do all the heavy lifting behind the scenes, and I just kind of like wait and smile. So before I get started, I'd like to introduce my team here. Mr. Curtis Davis, he is the head of engineering, our engineering team. Mr. Chris Smith, he's our technical director. Ms. Amy Johnson, she's our executive director of business development. Mr. Rob Mayo, he's our technical director. And Mr. John McCune, he's our chief technologist. And throughout this presentation here, what you're going to hear is anecdotes from us a little bit about D&D and cyber and stuff, but you really hear more about education and what it means. Because the jobs are there. There's no question in our mind that the jobs are there. But I want the jobs to be here, right? The jobs are available, I just want them here. And that's the difference. Thank you, sir. Okay, so brief thing. This is Jeff Bearden, D&D, blah, blah, blah. I always say this is a spiel. The critical thing about this slide right here really is the critical mass of talent that came out of Old Fort Ritchie, and you guys know Fort Ritchie. So the interesting part of this is, Kurt, where are you from?
New York.
Chris, where are you from?
Southern West Virginia.
Amy?
West Virginia.
Rob?
Pennsylvania.
John?
Pittsburgh.
And I'm from Mississippi. And the critical thing about this slide really is the fact that none of us are inherent talent here to Washington County, right? None of us grew up from Washington County. I'm from Mississippi, Kurt's from New York, Chris and Amy are from West Virginia, and John's from Pennsylvania, and Rob's from Pennsylvania. And the part is, in today's culture, or you can't not grow talent. You just can't do it, right? You have to be able to engulf and grow your talent. And Joe made a really interesting point, which I'm going to want to touch on later. And we have a presentation, a slideshow we're going to show you, is the biggest consumer in the world in the future is going to be, of IT is going to be consumer, right? We're going to be the biggest consumer of everything because that's just the way things are going. And basically, you know, our talent pool is very, very diverse. You guys will find this out. It's very interesting about how D&D is and where we get our talent pool from. Okay, these are some of our customers. And so, interesting part, none of you guys probably really don't know this, but so what D&D does is we own the DoD enterprise infrastructure worldwide. So what it is we actually own the DoD boundary, which is the DoD Information Network, which is in our world, we call it the NIPR, the SIPR. And so when all of the DoD soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines go out and use things, they use the NIPR net or the SIPR net. And we actually own D&D ourselves. We own the protection of it. We actually are the prime contractor who runs the protection worldwide. All the engineering, all the designs. So when you hear about people in Afghanistan, Iraq, using the DoD network, D&D only. And so you'll see Army, Navy, Air Force, DoD, this Spade War, and these are our customers. Most of our contracts are either secret or top secret or higher than top secret at some points. A lot of the COCOM, combatant commands like SOCOM and the SEALs, you guys hear about SEAL Team 6, we built these little guys out in Tampa. They're our customers, right? It's very high-end stuff, very classified. These are our partners and our vendors. Some of these people were at our summit that we hosted here in Hagerstown. Cisco came out, Red Hat came out, BlackBerry came out. These are really good partners, and we work with them very, very closely. And they're most Silicon Valley companies. And it's one of those things where we feel that why can't Hagerstown be a bastion of Silicon Valley? It's right here, right? And what you'll see in our slides is it's been done before, right? Today's information opportunity and challenge, right? This is kind of the point where I kind of went over what I want this briefing to be, and Jim actually, his briefing last month actually helped us out a whole lot with this. And what Jim gave us was the need for educate our youth because we want our future here to be bright. And so we have an information opportunity right now, but there's a challenge we have to start addressing, and I can tell you right now, if there is no option, we have to address it. And we have to address it very, very, very briefly, very fast. Okay, so this is borrowing Jim's slides again. So STEM jobs would be 7% of all jobs in Maryland. And why that's very important is, this is 2018, right? In less than 3 months from now, 7% of all jobs in Maryland will be in STEM, right? And why this is very important is, exponentially, you will see this number probably triple and quadruple, and in about 5 to 10 years, there'll be 100% at least, 95% I can guarantee you, that the jobs in STEM will be in STEM. But the interesting part about all this is Maryland currently has 18,750 opening jobs right now they cannot fill, right? And I can guarantee you, exponentially, that number is going to quadruple every year from now on. And can you imagine having 18,000 jobs in Maryland and Washington County? And the other part of that is the average salary of computing occupation is over 100K. D&D is right on line with that. Our average salary of our employees is over 100K. Can you imagine Washington County being a place where everyone in Washington County makes over 100K? What happens to us in this room is property value goes up, restaurants get built. There's an ecosystem of things that happen throughout the county that we all become beneficiaries of, right? So the interesting part over here is where I find that America in general is failing, but here I care about Washington County, is 90% of parents want their children to learn computer science, right? But the interesting part here is 40% of schools teach computer programming. Kurt?
Yeah, just to segue on it. Just to give a brief explanation of my personal story is, growing up in New York, I experienced actually going to college since middle school. There was a program that basically I would attend Hofstra University on the weekend for their science and technology entry program. What it did is it introduced the different aspects of science and technology at that younger stage, and I actually continued that throughout my high school career. Another thing is that my daughter used to live here in Washington County. I didn't feel that the academic structure was there, so I actually sent her back to New York. So she's actually been doing the same thing at Farmingdale University, where she's been attending colleges since middle school. Right now, she's on point. She has a 101 point GPA. She already has an acceptance letter from Columbia University, and it's just certain aspects of that stuff that's not available here that I feel that it's kind of hard to actually have your kids still attend schools. So actually, my son's now, he's 6, and he's in the robotics program and the coding program at Sylvia Learning. So it's just like different aspects of that that's not introduced at school that have to actually take the extra step to make sure that they have that experience and see all that stuff.
No, thank you. So to Kurt's point, the reason why it's very important is Kurt has to supplement his normal education for his kids in order to be ahead or to be on par with what we consider to be average, right? It's one of those things where it's very important to understand that if Kurt wasn't in the field himself, he probably would not know to actually supplement his kids' education with robotics on the weekends because he wouldn't know, right? But the reality of it is that is the reality that we live with is if you're going to, every kid now should be into the IT world. It is here. I mean, it's totally different. And what you guys are going to kind of find out as you go through this presentation with us is, to Jim's point, and he made a really good point last month, was it's a necessary. It's not even an option anymore, and we've been fortunate enough over the last 20, 30 years of our lives to live in an age where information and technology was not as pertinent. This day and age, it totally is. Computer science drives job growth and innovation throughout our economy and society. The main part here is STEM is a requirement, not an option anymore. And I can tell you this for various reasons, is when the Technical Innovation Center in Hagerstown Community College first introduced their STEM program, and I watched it throughout Washington County. STEM is almost like the cool thing to do, but no one really does, right? It's like, hey, our kids are in STEM, and that's great, but that's all it is. It's just a moniker people use, and they say the kids are in STEM. What we see every day is the world around us is changing and evolving so fast and so rapidly. And the interesting part is, you guys will hear about some of this stuff, is B&D is developing a lot of this technology, and I'm literally doing it, right? We're literally changing jobs, and we're changing industries, and those things are happening. Their jobs are there. I always use things, I can give you some anecdotal things, right? If you think about Uber, 5 years ago, no one ever thought taxi drivers would go out of business. And I can guarantee you, in any major city, taxi drivers are about to go out of business because of some small thing called Uber, right? And your other technologies are going to change the world against what people are expecting, because you haven't seen them. And the interesting part that you're going to find out is these things are happening so fast and right now that by the time we actually understand that they're here, right, it'll be a little bit too late. But we think we're at a point now that we can actually make a difference. But it's some work. Computing is used all around us, virtually every field, functionality, knowledge. Fewer than half of U.S. schools offer any computer science courses. That is almost unbelievable at this point in 2017. That fewer than 8% of STEM graduates study. Right? It's very, very. So this is a quote from Steve Jobs that I like. Computer science is a liberal art. It is something that everybody should be exposed to, and everyone should have a mastery of to some extent. And so what he's saying is, right now, computer science is almost like reading and writing, right? And in order to be around as an adult, you have to be able to read, write, and communicate with people. And the honest answer is, we have to start looking at computer science in that nature, right? And you have to start looking at it in a mindset that if you don't take it there, we'll find ourselves in a very different place than we are now. Okay, now this is where we start getting to the meat of some of this stuff. So the transformation from an industrial economy to an information economy. And this is the crux of what we want to talk about today is, for the last 30, 40 years, generations ago, my grandfather, my father, we all had jobs that were in industrial base, right? And what you saw middle income families basically get their living from a high school diploma working in a factory or some job long term. And what you saw was my family worked in the GM shops in Detroit. My entire generation of aunts, uncles, and everyone else. And of course the recession hit and they're jobless and things like that. And before then, my grandfather and them worked in the same plants and they worked there and retired and had their pensions. That's an industrial age that we lived in before. The world is totally different world now. And how do you do it, right? And so when the recession hit, a lot of places were hit very hard, including the Midwest, especially the Midwest, right? Ohio and Michigan. Governor Kasich, which has brilliantly realized how to help Ohio turn itself around. Right? This is where the crux of what we're trying to get to is, Governor Kasich realized that the world changed from an industrial economy to an information economy. And so what he did was, he started investing in STEM years before anyone else did. And from understanding business a little bit, he incentivized companies from Silicon Valley to come to Ohio. And people would never think Ohio is a Silicon Valley type of place. Because when people hear Silicon Valley, they always think California, right? The guys out there drinking lattes and all that stuff. This is Midwest United States, right? And you would never in your life think that Midwest United States would be the Silicon Valley. And what he did was, he lost over 100,000 jobs, and he got those jobs back by investing in STEM. That's what he did. He literally invested in STEM. He incentivized companies to come out there. He gave them tax breaks and tax credits and things like that. And those things were very, very, very important to the Ohio economy. Now Ohio is thriving, right? And the auto industry is back, but it's not back hiring the same jobs because they automated those jobs previously, right? He retrained his workforce, he got his younger kids smarter, and he did it. He really did it. He's almost the poster child, I tell people, for how you want to think in order to change from an industrial economy to an information economy. And that's what we have to do here. I mean, I know being here in Western Maryland is not our way of thinking of being in an industrial type of place, information type of place, but this is what we have to move to. We have to, he literally transformed the way Western United States thinks. He really did. And he created all these things, and what he did was he secured commitments from companies to create and retain 70,000 jobs, worth $2.3 billion in annual payroll and $4.5 billion in capital in 2012. He did this. In 5 short years, he worked with more than 1,500 companies that have launched new businesses to expand existing operations in Ohio. This is what we're here for, right? This is about job creation. This is about keeping jobs here locally to Washington County. And there's an investment that he had to do from the top down, right? He's the governor of Ohio. There's no one higher than him in Ohio. And he set the precedence for how Ohioans actually will live and operate. And their lives are better for it, right? What happens? Same with all, property values went up, restaurants, businesses soared, quality of life went up. People stayed in Ohio, right? People were jetting out of Ohio during the recession. They were leaving left and right because there were no jobs there. And now people can't get to Ohio fast enough, right? You can raise your kids there, you can raise your families. And he did that. So how the industry has changed over the last 15 years. So this is the question that I was telling myself I'm going to ask. So you guys, what kind of company do you guys think Amazon is? Anybody have any idea, questions? What kind of company Amazon? You guys know Amazon, right? Question first, right? You guys know who Amazon is. So what type of company do you guys think Amazon is? And this is the domain of IT is taking over the world, but it's very important because we hear Amazon everywhere in the world, right? And Kurt, John, what kind of company you guys may think, right? People here, they're food company. Media, right?
Shipping.
No, right.
Commerce.
Commerce, right? They're an IT company. Amazon is an IT company, right? And the reason why this slide, I know some of this stuff looks kind of crazy to you guys. What Amazon did is, this is all the basis of what Amazon has, right? They have the server infrastructure, they have virtual cloud infrastructure, they have containers, servers, compute store, they have native cloud stuff. But what they really are is an IT company. They're an IT company that actually expanded their world of IT into domains of business. That's what they did, right? They built the infrastructure to have cloud computing, store compute, and things like that. And they grew that into a business that we understand to the consumer level, right? I can buy groceries at Amazon. I personally buy groceries at Amazon all the time. I buy stuff. Yes, ma'am.
One of the clients at the Tech Innovation Center just said last week that Amazon's web services, which is, can you
AWS?
explain that, actually does more business than what Amazon online does.
Oh, we know. We work with the AWS guys pretty well. We work with them.
Yeah, but to explain to the audience,
Right. So good point. So AWS is Amazon Web Services is they sell their cloud services to anyone, right? You, me.
That's what that stuff is.
That's what that stuff is. This is the point, right? This is the point. They're an IT firm. People don't understand that part. They think because you buy goods and services from them. What they did is they built an IT infrastructure that the entire world can use and order from. But it's really all around IT. And they built a business model. And this is the domain of IT we're talking about is, you know, as we talk about these subjects a little bit, you know, you can almost look at the domain of IT into farming, right, into manufacturing and other things. And so Amazon sells its IT services, that the infrastructure that it's invested in over these years to everyone. And so everyone thought Jeff Bezos was a crazy guy when he's giving away Amazon Kindles for $289, while Apple was selling his Apple iPads for $900. And all he did was sold you a facilitator to buy his services, is what he did. He gave you that for free, just so you can buy anything that he wants you to do based on his infrastructure. He's a very smart man, right? He's like, as long as you just pay for it, I'll break even off that, you'll buy stuff from me from now to the end of time, no matter what it is, right? And you'll buy your groceries, you'll buy your music, you'll buy your movies, you'll buy your goods, and every vendor in the world would sell their goods through Amazon and call it a day. And now Amazon even selling its own infrastructure, to Janice's point, for you to use. And to the point that the federal government actually uses Amazon's web services, right? So the federal government actually buys and uses Amazon's web services themselves just because they can buy it cheaper and they advance the investment. And so the domain of IT is a lot of what we're going to talk about because the information age is different than the industrial age where we're allowed to have a prosperous middle class without having the education to support it. And to Jim's point from last month, we have to have the education to support it. And I'll give some anecdotal things that go through, is when you saw recessions happen, you saw people who were untrained who couldn't move from industry to industry. You saw people who were trained because they didn't have the educational background to be able to make the change from one industry, one change to the other. The information age is totally different. In our business, we've learned something called life learning, meaning when you get your degree, things like that, you have to be able to evolve and change with the coming tide as things evolve but you have to have the background and the foundation to do so. And we'll get to that a little bit more in a second. So unprecedented innovation in the next 5 to 10 years will be innovation tsunami. And so this is very, very key, and this is why Jim said in 10 years, and I can tell you honest truth, it'll be 5. At best, if you're lucky, it'll be 6, but the reality is probably 3 to 5 years. There's an information tsunami that's coming to us. It's going to hit everyone very, very fast. You start hearing about these driverless cars and things like that. You go to Pittsburgh, you'll probably see no one driving. Well, you see a lot of driverless cars going around there, and we're fortunate enough to be in the field, so we see a lot of stuff firsthand. There's so many innovations that are coming and so rapidly that by the time Washington County or any other rural county in America or even an urban city would find that you're not abreast of, it'll be a little bit too late, right? The economy has shifted in that direction, or you'll be lost, and that's what will happen. And so, and how does this affect us? A couple ways. First thing is going to be, like anything else, when you start seeing these huge shifts in technology, you're going to see jobs lost, right? And then you're going to see jobs gained too, right? You're going to see, there's 18,000 jobs here in Maryland that are available. You'll start seeing 20,000 jobs available, or another 10,000 lost somewhere. And there'll be places like that that'll be hard hit because those technologies are there designed to increase efficiency and decrease inefficiencies and help shareholders make more money, which is fair. That's fine, right? But there are jobs being created somewhere else that we have to be able to go to, and that's kind of the point. And how do we prepare for it? Education. There's no way around it. There's 0 ways around it. IB&D, we have job openings every single day, and you guys also will see is, I can't hire you if you're not educated enough. We can't. We do some really tough things and very hard things, and you cannot do it without the proper education. You just cannot. There's no way around it. We can grow all we can, and we want to, and we want to hire locally, but if I can't hire locally, I just cannot. Okay, imminent technologies, and I know you guys probably are going to understand some of this stuff, but there's a presentation, there's a video we're going to show you guys that's very interesting here in a few minutes, a couple minutes here. And these 5G networks, you guys probably don't understand yet, but Internet of Things, Internet of Everything. To Joe's point earlier, what Joe said is the biggest consumer in the world is going to be the end user, right? And I say that because right now, we all use our cell phones for everything. Can you imagine having wearables on where your glasses are telling you things, your watch is telling you? Amy has a smartwatch on, which all you guys probably have them, right? With your email, phone, and stuff. That's the very beginning of the Internet of Things and Internet of Everything, right? There are wearables where, I don't know if you guys watch sports, Dwight Howard actually had this, used to wear this device under his, wristband, where it tells him when to take a break during a basketball game. It's telling him that his back is starting to hurt or his legs are wearing out. And for 2 weeks, he was the most productive he's been in 5 years until he got caught they call it cheating. You're like, you can't be doing that, right? But wearables are going to be the way of the future, right? But those are Internet of Things, right? And this gets to the point where job creation is going to be so massive. And the scale, when you watch this video here in a second, the author, Mr. P. Levine, you're going to see, it talks about like these end user devices that can do everything. And can you imagine having those young entrepreneurs here in Washington County who are really smart, creating those things, creating new jobs? They're entrepreneurs. They have a new gadget they can do for either farming, they can do for machinery, and they can develop that stuff here locally, create their companies here locally, and come here to Washington County because they can get the talent, right?
medical surveillance, big,
Huge.
America's down.
Absolutely, for you, Joe, for medical surveillance. Can you imagine having a device where doctors get to actually tell their patient when they sit them at dinner, you ate a big piece of steak and the blood pressure went up, and the doctor sends you a note, right, and it says, hey, I just saw you, Joe, you ate this big steak. Whatever you're doing, you're ready to cut it off, right? And you're absolutely. But that's the world we're going to, right? We're going to a world where information is going to be so prevalent. The more information you've ever seen in your life is so available to you right now. And when you talk about the Internet of Things, these driverless cars, in our world, we have these things like servers, right? And we have servers in data centers that Joe's used to. And these driverless cars are moving data centers. Like these things are computing more, so, and provide more information and data analytics that you can think of, cannot imagine. And they're driving data centers. A driverless car cannot go to the cloud and make a decision before it hits somebody. It has to make decisions right there locally before it goes around people. And that stored compute and that analytics is like machine learning, artificial intelligence, those things happen. And those sensors, there are probably hundreds and thousands of sensors on any individual vehicle. And that vehicle can make decisions on its own and make a decision on its own. Move around a car, stop at a red light, stop at a stop sign, move forward, slow up. Those are all local decisions where Internet of Things and everything are going to be. And those things will be linked to everything else in the very near future. And this is one of those things where this is not something that pipe dream 10 years down the road. This is going to be hitting us at our front doorstep within 3 to 5 years. Okay, so this video we're about to show you is this is Peter Levine. He's a professor at Stanford and MIT. He's a consultant at Andreessen Horowitz and a consultant for venture capitalists. Why it's important why he is for venture capitalists is Mr. Levine has a very, very good reputation of predicting where trends in business and technology are going, right? He's predicted the last internet boom and all those things, and venture capitalists who make money take his word and heed his word very, very seriously. And what he does is he allows them to make decisions and investments based on the information he provides. And this video, although it may be technical, I think in terms of job creation, of how do we create jobs here in Washington County, and where should we invest our time and energy in Washington County here, right? And he's very, very, very good at this. And so what we're going to do here is, before we get to this video here, it's about 25 minutes, but it's a very, very good video. And it's about technology, but for me, it's about where do we make the investments and how does this create jobs, right? And to Joe's point, the end user is going to be the biggest consumer of stuff. So how do we create things that the end user can be that
And one of the interesting things about this video is he's projecting out to about 2022. So the things that you saw in the previous slide, essentially, are 2017 technologies projecting 5 years out. So the stuff that you're about to see is what he's addressing.
And all those technology driven, think about it in business terms of how many opportunities do we have for business growth with this kind of new landscape of technology, right? And how do we do that? One second.
All right, checking.
Curtis, you're up.
Yeah, no worries.
Jeff, while you wait on that,
Yes.
tell them how large you were when you moved out, how many employees you had when you moved out, and 3 years later where you're at.
Yep, so I think we left it tick, I think we're at 12 people. Yep, and we're over 100 now, 104.
In less than 3 years.
Yes, in less than 3 years, right. And so one of the things that we do is we heavily invest in research and development. So we do a lot of, and the interesting part, some of the stuff that he's talking about here, we're actually doing a lot of development ourselves. In less than 3 years, we've and of course, grown tremendously, made Inc. 500 a couple times, including this year. But the biggest thing is the technology was the driver of our growth. It really was. I mean, it really was the driver of our growth. We actually started investing in technology about 4 or 5 years ago. And what we said to ourselves were, what kind of company do we want to be? And how do we maximize the growth or maximize potential for growth? And so we realized that I can't compete in a market in technology if I'm not actually developing technology myself. And so we did.
Tell them about your server lab computer room.
Yeah, so Paul and Jim have seen, our lab is about 3,000 square feet. And any given day, you'll see a bunch of kids in there doing cool kid stuff, I think. And they stay in the lab. I mean, the smartest of the smart ones, they stay in the lab and they innovate, right? Old crunchy guys like John and myself, we kind of give them some ideas and they just go run with it. And these kids go out and they come with some harebrained, ideas. Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no worries.
So as a school system, I mean, we're looking to implement coding, kindergarten through 12th grade for next year. We do have a lot of coding already going on at individual schools. We have robotics in the simplest form, just, small robots that students, program and think through programming, coding. I'm talking even at elementary level.
We have to start that early.
We don't have it at a system-wide level.
Yes.
What else do we need to do as a system to get this gentleman's daughter back in Washington County Public Schools, prepare for his son to be in Washington County Public Schools? And what is it that we'd be willing to give up? This is kind of a generic question as a community. What is it we'd be willing to give up within our 6.5-hour day to really prepare students for the 21st century and actually soon to be the 22nd century for some of our students that will be working that far into the future? I constantly get pushback from people and from our state government. You have to do opioid education, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and the whole time we are wasting time to prepare our students for the very marketplace that Jeff's describing here today. We as a community, I see Rob representing the county commissioners, my school board, we need to be thinking very differently, much like you're describing. But man, do we get pushback as soon as we try to change the smallest of things, and we're going to do so many wrong things for our community if we don't change what we're doing in the direction you're describing. So I'm anxious, I'm reading all the time, Red Industries of the Future, a lot of what you described, and Alex Ross's book I read this summer, one of many. I have a stack of books I'm taking to a conference tonight, overnight conference, and one of those is about education, what they need to change. I read one of the articles last night. The last line of it says, and no matter how much you change, it will not be enough to keep up with this. So we're anxious to hear and learn and work with anybody in this room, our higher education institutes. We're ready to start at pre-K with what we think it would be, but it's going to keep changing on us. But we will have to accept change in Washington County to prepare our students. Otherwise, we're preparing for these $20 an hour jobs that are going to disappear.
Absolutely.
And that's the message I've been on, and I need help with that message.
One of the
Part of my team here today, and they're anxious to hear, because part of their challenge is, what's the next 3 programs we're starting next September? How are we promoting them that'll prepare students for this workforce? I'm sorry, I just wanted to get all that in.
Right. One of the key things we wanted to hit on here today was that the education process to prepare people for technology jobs is really a long serial process. These are not, quite frankly, these are not jobs for high school graduates. These are jobs, in many cases, are graduate degrees. So one of the biggest and most important things you can do in the education sector is prepare these students to move on to the next level. So if you work backwards, that, let's say hypothetically the working level for some of this stuff is a master's degree in computer science or some engineering field. What do they need previous to that to prepare them for that? What they need is they need a bachelor's degree from, universities that produce quality education from engineering and computer science. So what do they need before that? They might need, junior colleges, or they might need something that is ahead of that prepares them to do that. And so what do they need ahead of that? They need high school education that prepares them to go into college to take on the difficult classes associated with that. So what do they need ahead of that? They need to be exposed to the basics of technology. So the biggest, recommendation or advice we could put to you today is your role as a elementary or high school education provider is to basically make sure that these kids are prepared to take on the next level. You're not going to prepare them in elementary school or high school to work on 6-figure jobs in technology. What you're going to do is you're going to prepare them so they can go to college to get these particular scenarios, and then these colleges are going to prepare them to go into graduate school. So your role is, in our opinion, to make sure that you're passing the baton to the next level of education without some requirement of them doing some remedial education, trying to pick up for something that they didn't get in previous years associated with it.
And in fact, I don't want to steal Jeff's,
No,
but while I have the community here, and while we're going to continue to promote this across the community, in just the last couple of weeks, I've been fighting, please don't send home any homework. We have lots of things we want to do as a family. We want to be able to do this, we want to do that. We don't want you to keep school within the confines of your 6-hour day. I've had somebody say, AP is not for everybody. We should not be promoting advanced placement. That should only be for a very narrow group of our students. I mean, we are fighting these kind of things where we need to expand everything possible to prepare our students for their next step, whatever that is. But as a community, we need to get behind this and be willing to change Washington County. And we need county commissioners on board, and school board on board, and parents on board. We need to get this message out that life for our students, employment for our students is going to be different. And I just greatly appreciate your message so far. I'm going to have to cut out, but I'm going to get your 25-minute video. I just said to staff, we need to look for 25 minutes of that we can show our school board during a presentation at some point.
Absolutely.
Continue to promote all that we can do as a school system.
And I do want to respond to, my name is Becky Willard. I own Beacon Grace. It's a technology and professional consulting company supporting supply chain. My daughter is in Western Heights, and she's in 7th grade. Over the summer, she took a programming class for her to learn how to program games. She wants to do that. She wants to do programming. She doesn't have that available at the school. So you have this desire in a girl, which right now, you read all the news that women in technology, it's discouraging for us. So you need to encourage the girls at a young age, and after middle school, girls lose interest in technology, but you're not capturing them when they first become interested. So how do you take and support girls and any child, but you need to focus at the middle school level of really full force throwing them into technology, because as soon as they capture the interest, throw them into it. Thank you.
Well, let me just, before Boyd leaves, because he's going to leave, I'm going to ask him.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I apologize.
I'm going to ask Boyd if we might be able to work with our two boards to see if we can get Jeff's presentation
Great. Joint
with a joint meeting. So, thank you.
Great.
I guess one of my questions would be, Curtis, obviously, you made some decisions for your family personally based on the experiences you had personally.
Yes.
So when you look at that weekend thing that you went through, that gave you the edge to kind of, as your colleague said, be able to move the baton to the next level and make sure that you weren't behind. So, how do we create that here? And what companies or organizations need to get involved collectively to say, let's create that, and let's build that so that whether it's for, 10 people or 20 people or 50 people, how do we do that? Because obviously we got smart companies like yourself and others that want to be involved.
So I think some of the challenges there is actually getting the local academia involved as early as possible. As I was stating, growing up in New York, they had that, well, it was a pilot program that they started out with. So basically, the local government worked with the Hofstra University to actually institute that, and it was a pilot program that's been successful. They actually modified that to have like 3 other programs, Upper Bound, which actually helped people who was interested in IT, and then actually provide scholarships through that, through government and state sponsorships and things of that nature. I think one of the challenges there is actually getting everybody on the same page in terms of
A common roadmap of understanding where the need is.
Absolutely, correct. Yep. And her segue.
Perfect segue. So Jeff and I have been talking about this. I came to the tech summit they did at the beginning of August, and one of the things that came out of that is we scheduled a meeting at the Technical Innovation Center at Hagerstown Community College on October 20th. It's a Friday, from 10 to noon, and our whole plan is to sit there and talk about road mapping. So I've connected with HGC leaders, and we're figuring out who at HGC needs to be there. So I talked to Jeff and Amy, and we want to open up the invitation that if you want to continue this conversation and figure out, okay, how do we actually put legs on this and change Washington County, get on board with this, because I know John and Jeff have talked extensively about their passion for Washington County and making this the next Silicon Valley so that we don't get left behind in the technology advances. So if you want to take advantage of that and the expertise they bring to the table and knowing, okay, what do we need to be developing in order to meet these workforce needs? Because I can tell you, if you want to recruit and attract other advanced technology companies to the area, it's having the workforce here. So I have business cards. If you want to get an invite to that, see me afterwards.
Thanks, Sharon. So I'm gonna get to the video, but I do want to carry out the point, finish that after the video about the potential for getting the education caught up with this.
Jeff, and this is good, because I'm ADD, and all this activity is kind of good for my brain. So it's a 25-minute video. We have a couple options. We can show it. You have to leave at 9. Please leave. We'll also make sure we post it for those of you who have attended. We'll email a link to you. So if you have to go, that's okay. I know Jeff said that after they're finished, they want to engage with you. And when I said to Jeff, when someone else is speaking, this is what we want is this conversation. And so I appreciate the fact that Dr. Michael and his team are here. We have the private sector here. We have the county represented. This is a community opportunity to, I think, take advantage of. And so if you have to leave at 9, not hurt everyone's feelings, maybe Jeff. It is Techie Day. It was Techie Day yesterday. It's not Techie Day today, so don't worry about stealing today.
Exactly.
And again, we'll send this out, and then we'll go from there. Okay? You're welcome.